Myst truly doesn't need an introduction. Originally released for home computers back in 1993, it was a huge success, being remade for virtually every single platform that could handle it, and even some that couldn't. It was one of the main reasons the CD-ROM caught on in home computers, and to this very day, reworks of Myst continue to get released on modern-day platforms. It's rather incredible how popular this adventure game became, and it all started right here. As today is Saturn Day, we'll be taking a brief look at the Saturn version of Myst, which was released in '95. The game features a series of static images that are tied together to form the world of Myst. You take on the role of the Stranger, and are trying to piece together exactly what the hell is going on. By locating key pages of certain books, you can transport to select ages in order to find new clues that may unravel the greater mystery. You begin your adventure on the docks, which you'll see in the video, and from there you slowly but surely start to piece together what you have to do in order to progress. Slowly being the operative word here. This is very much a traditional adventure game. It's just you and the world of Myst. Since this is the very first game in the series, there are several aspects that haven't aged quite as well as the sequels. For starters, you don't always have a good vantage point to see objects in your environment. This can make progression extremely challenging because you didn't notice that there was a building hidden behind the trees off to your left somewhere there, because the still image of the scene pointed the camera just a bit too low. The other is the game's age. Today, you'd be moving around this lush world in full 3D, not clicking on static images, which some people won't mind, of course, but others will find progression to be just absolutely way too slow. I should also point out that you really can't play this game without a notepad and pen by your side. That's right, children, you actually had to take notes as you played through this game, as clues were extremely cryptic, and you needed to ensure you could piece puzzles together in order to move on to the next area. This was not an easy game, and going back to capture this footage, I was completely lost, I won't lie. It took me quite a while to figure out what I needed to do, which was pretty much exactly what happened to me back in '93 to '95 when I first experienced this game. Although back then, there was no such thing as the internet, or at least not like we have today. The Saturn port does a decent job of porting over Myst, but it is quite slow. When you move the cursor and click to move forward, it takes a second or two for everything to register. It feels as though the game is being played at a much lower frame rate than that of the original PC version, where you could just click, click, click and zip around everywhere. Speaking of clicking, using the default control pad works just fine, but the Saturn mouse is indeed supported, which works much better as you'd imagine. While the graphics certainly show their age, the soundtrack is just as powerful today as it was when the game was first released. What I always loved about Myst was that feeling of isolation. It was sort of like Metroid in that regard. It was just you, alone on this mysterious island. You want nothing else but to escape, and you had absolutely no way of knowing how to do that. Like I said before, this was before the internet's widespread appeal, so it took ages for you to figure out exactly what you needed to do and where you needed to go and how to solve every last puzzle. The thing is, the experience was so rewarding because of that. Every time you solved a puzzle, you felt like you had just completed World 8-4 of Super Mario Bros. Because it really was a true accomplishment. If you're going to play Myst today, I highly recommend Real Myst Masterpiece Edition, which was released on Steam back in 2014. It's the best version released of the game as of the time of this recording, and it allows you to experience the game as it was originally intended, or you can go into full 3D mode and play it like a first-person shooter. The choice is yours. Riven, the sequel to Myst, was released on the SEGA Saturn, but sadly only in Europe and Japan, not in North America, which is a bit of a shame, as it's a much better game in terms of the technology present. If you're looking for a copy of Myst on the SEGA Saturn, it can be had for just a few dollars, and while this certainly isn't the best version of the game, it makes for a really interesting historical piece to show just how far we've come.